loud. So hi again from this time, 7 minutes after starting the class. We are recording this session, and this is the second week of Fall 1, 2020, California Minor University, for the course of Organizational Development and Change, and we are talking honestly about the change. And today, for the second week, we talk about change. Let me share the screen. Okay, it's here. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Chapter 3 about the contemporary drivers and pressures for change. It's your personal and daily life. Some motivators are external and some motivators are internal. Stimulus are external, but drives, sometimes natural instincts, are internal. Your needs are internal. Your wishes sometimes are external. Your organization is your daily life. Your wishes, your dreams, your goals, some part external, some part internal. These are the forces to force you to create a change in your life, like your organization. So in the frame, it is the same. Internal, external, personal, social, or out of your environment. It is environmental. But in the organization, there are some different contents. So our learning objectives, LOs, are why change, images of managing change. What are the 6 images of managing change or change management? Everybody except of Luisa. Luisa cannot answer. I know that she studied so hard. What are the 6 images of change management from the previous week? Nobody? I cannot hear you, David. You are muted.
I said, wait, I'm gonna find it.
Okay. We had 6 images of change management for 2 style, shaping capability and controlling activities with these 2 types in 3 levels: full intended, semi-intended or partially intended, and unintended. If you are controlling the activities, full intended, you are a director. If you are controlling the activities, semi-intended or partially intended, you are partially intended. You are not a coach, not an interpreter. Luisa?
A navigator.
Navigator. And if you want to control activities with no intention, unintended, you are only caretaker. And the other 3 parts, is about shaping behavior or shaping capabilities. If you are shaping the capabilities, new abilities, new strengths, so intentionally, you are a coach. If you are doing it semi-intended or partially intended, you are an interpreter. And if you don't have any intention, but you are shaping behaviors and strength and capability, you are nurturer. Okay? These are the 6 images of change management: director, navigator, caretaker, coach, interpreter, and nurturer. Until the end of this course, until the end of this book, we are talking about these 6 characters of change managers. Again, in second part in chapter 3, environmental pressure for change. Why do organizations not change in response to environmental pressures? Why do organizations not change after a crisis? And internal organizational change drivers. For the first part, you can see that we have two stimulus for change. One part is external, one part is internal. Out of the organization, it is environmental pressure. Internal organization, it is internal drivers. These are pressures, these are drivers. These are external, these are internal. These are environmental, these are characteristic of organization, features of organization, okay? These are the basic concepts you should know about the change in organization, because if you can distinguish these parts, separate them together from each other, you will have a good view for analysis about the organizational change. So external, internal. If it is external, it is called pressure. If it is internal, it is called driver, okay? Why change? Change is a risky activity. Many organizational changes fail or do not realize their intended outcomes. This raises the question, why is change so prevalent? Pressure to change comes from external environmental and organizational pressure or drive. Okay, this is a good question. Why is change so prevalent? If it is risky, sometimes it is very high level of risk. And as you know, we have a science so-called risk study in mathematics, in industrial organization, industrial engineering, also in management science. We have a science so-called, it is risk study, and game theory about the risk study. Do you know anything about game theory? Who is volunteer for talking about game theory 10 minutes the next session? We can talk about it the next session about the game theory. Nobody?
I can do it.
That's good. 10 minutes about the principal concepts and applications of game theory in management, in business, not in, it is a mathematical model, I know. But I want to talk about, the usage in risk study and in other parts of management and business. And sometimes in industrial engineering, there is a very good talking about operation research and engineering economy. Engineering economy, it is the how can manipulate the economy of your business by industrial and engineering tools. It is engineering economy. Game theory is part of engineering economy. Only 10 minutes about what is this not, what is the relationship between mathematical science, for example, to management. Okay. External pressure for organizational change, economic and trading condition, domestic and global. Domestic economic and trading condition and global domestic and trading condition. For example, now in COVID-19, we have an overall condition. Because of that, it is called pandemic. Pandemic, it has been global all around the world. And new technologies and materials, changes in customers, we are talking about the external elements, external factors that push an organization to change. Changes in customer requirements and tastes, activities and innovations of competitors, mergers and acquisitions, and legislation, regulation, and government policies. For example, we talk about Trust Act, the previous session, that it is illegal in America to go together some great companies to limit the markets only to their supplies. It is illegal because it is a capitalistic country and the turnover of money is very important. The turnover of capital is very important. Because of that, it is illegal and it is called Trust Act, trust. Shifts in local, national, and international politics and changes in social and cultural values. But what are the internal pressures or internal drivers? New product and service design innovation. For example, in Apple, you can see this item. Every time, every year, at least 2 models of new Apples with a very, very, very small differences, but with differences. They're not a model. Low performance or moral, high stress and staff turnover. It is very important. Staff turnover is one of the greatest internal drivers to make and create some changes in organizational structure, in organizational function, in organizational leadership or management, because the staff turnover has a very high cost outcome for every organization. You should train some personnel or some employee, and after that, by turnover, you will lose your trained personnel, trained employee, and again and again and again, show must go on after that, and what they're doing as a manager. So staff turnover, one of the greatest and basic drivers for creating change in an organization, maybe in an organizational structure or sometimes in organizational management or leadership. New senior managers or top management team who want to make their mark and who want to make their mark, it is very important sometimes because when you are an old manager and you want to have your own impact on the company, and after retirement, you want to be forever as a good name in your company, it is called make their mark. It is sometimes a motivator for change, especially in what type of companies do you think that when a leader, when a manager want to make his or her mark, it's sometimes go to change. Can you guess what type of companies? It is not company, it's an institution. What? Jenny, you are muted.
So you're asking like what kind of company wants
What
to
kind
make
of
their
company?
mark?
It is very regular that someone want to make his or her mark in the company because it is near retirement time.
Oh, somebody who's probably trying to have not like have the last laugh, but kind of have like
Mm-hmm.
trying to go out with a bang kind of thing
Mm-hmm.
before their retirement.
Maybe.
I'd say medical.
Oh,
Why medical?
I think I mean, lots of
Is there any
doctors.
specific feature for medical business that someone who wants to make his mark in the business, in a company or not?
Yeah, I mean, the medical industry is driven with innovation every year. There's always one new device that's curing one disease, or one new medication that's going to help, or one new surgery that can save life. So many of the doctors, or even in the technological part of medicine, they want to do something remarkable that would last for a lifetime of generations to come.
But it is not related to the individuals. It is related to the inventions, related to the science, not a one person. In type of family business, because a family business is from son, father, father, son, and again, in family business, there's a very strong tendency for someone to make his or her mark. Why? Because of the next generation will remember him or her as a founder of the company. So regardless of what type of production the family business has, a family business has a great tendency to making his or her owner, founder, or the significant leader in a family business, which is a family member. Out of the family, it is not important. But if the manager, if the leader is a family member, sometimes there are a lot of great tendency to make their mark for the next generation. And, okay, inadequate skills and knowledge base, triggering training program, skill training is one of the greatest stimulus for creating change. Head office and factory relocation, closer to suppliers and markets, it's a very good Q for creating change, internal, it is not related to the external pressures. Recognition of problems triggering reallocation of responsibilities, innovations in the manufacturing process, and new ideas about how to deliver services to customers. Some parts are related to factories, manufacturers. Some parts are related to business world, and sometimes some parts are related to entrepreneurship, because in entrepreneurship you have a very different systematic thinking about the future. It is not like business planning. Business planning is very clear, very good view, very transparent view about the business in business planning. But in entrepreneurship, sorry, everything is very, very confused about the future. Because of that, you call it entrepreneurship. If there is a good perspective about the future, it is not called entrepreneur, it is called a business. And business has business plan. But entrepreneurship has an entrepreneur design, not business plan. These are some parts of need for creating change. Images of change. Here, again, you see that for creating change, director is someone believes that change is a result of strategic pressure and control by manager's ability to direct the organization response. It is the thinking in a director. Who was director? Someone who wants control activities full intentionally, full intended, very goal directed. It is he or she is called director. How director think about the external or internal pressure? Director think change is a result of strategic pressure. Why? Because he is full intended. He is thinking about the future, but for controlling the activities, not for shaping the behavior, shaping the new abilities. If she or he is shaping the new abilities, he or she is not called director. She or is called coach. So at the first three levels, you see persons who want control activities with different level of intention: full intended, semi-intended or partially intended, and unintended. If want to control ability, full intended, he or she is called director. If he or she wants to control abilities or activities, partially intended, he or she is called, as Luisa said, navigator. And finally, if he or she wants to control activity without intention, unintended, he or she is called caretaker. And how think navigator about the external pressures or internal drivers to change? Navigator think strategy change in response to internal and external pressure. Multiple pressure facing managers will need to be taken into account. Why he or she is talking about multiple pressure? Because he or she is partially intended to control activities, not fully intended, not unintended. So multiple pressure, it is about partially, for example, controlling the activities out of the organization as the environmental pressure, and partially about the internal drivers of organization, for example, changing the production or changing the leaders and other parts. And caretaker as someone who control activities unintended, think about the future of the change of the organization, about external pressures or about internal drivers that managers have little control because unintended, no goals. Managers have little control over the inevitable pressures on the organization. He or she, as a caretaker, think like this, that no control. It is out of our control because he or she doesn't have any intention. He or she is unintended. Managers have little choice in the organization actions because he or she is only caretaker. For other three roles of the change managers, we have somebody who wants to shape or create behaviors, capabilities, strengths, and potentials, changing potential to reality. Full intended, semi-intended, or unintended. Someone who do this, shaping behaviors, shaping capability, producing new abilities, or sometimes switching the potentials to the reality, full intended, someone who wants to do it full intended, he or she is called coach. If he or she wants to do it partially intended, he or she is called interpreter. Give some interpretation about why we need something new. For example, some new behaviors, some new strengths, some new potentials. And if he or she has no intention, he or she is unintended about shaping behaviors or shaping new capabilities or shaping potential and changing potential to the reality, he or she is only nurturer, okay? How they think about the change. Pressures for change are constant and result in the need to develop and shape the organization capabilities to better enhance organizational outcomes. Coach is looking for this. Better enhance organizational outcomes. If you are a life coach, better enhance personal outcomes. If you are business coach, better enhance business outcomes. If you are a spiritual coach, better enhance spiritual outcomes. Better enhance, tomorrow is better than yesterday, and tomorrow is better than today, is the final motto of a coach, okay? An interpreter. Interpreter is someone pressures for changes are internal and external, and managers need to understand and give meaning. The role of interpreter for handling change, interpreter as a change manager, is give meaning to these internal and external changes, because he or she is interpreter, not really changes, but better understanding the causality of the pressures and the predictable and unpredictable outcomes of the change. He or she is interpreted. He or she is doing for shaping something new in the organization, partially intended, not fully intended, unintended. And finally, someone whose pressures for change are large and small, and manager's role is enhance the adaptive capacity of the organization. It is only nurturer. Honestly, he or she doesn't create any new potential, any new activity, any new capability, but he will help you to understand the new adaptive coping styles for changes in organizations. Okay. 6 sets of external, we are talking now about the external pressures for creating change. It is 6 sets or 6 factors. Demography, fashion, fads and fashions, demography, mandate, reputation, hyper competition, and geopolitics. And what are about the fads and fashion? The next big thing, let's appear progressive. This is the motto of the fads and fashions. Everything should be bigger and better in the future. It is the main concept of fashion, fads and fashions. And demography, it is about the changing, especially in aging of the world, as an external factor, external pressure for changing in organizations. We will talk about the silver tsunami and boomers and Gen Y and Gen Z. We'll talk about it just now. Mandate and reputation. I prefer to go to the main topic. After that, we will get back here. Okay. At first, fads and fashion as an external environmental pressure. We have some concept here. Mimetic isomorphism. Morph is mean the shape. In Latin word, morph is mean shape. For example, in biology, there is a phrase so-called morphology. Morphology is the knowledge about the shape of every beings. It is morphology. It is knowing about the form of, for example, human being, forms about the horse, form about the, for example, a very, very little microscopic being. It is morphology. Morph in Latin language is means shape, form. Mimetic, isomorphic. Isomorphic is the same morph. Isomorph, iso is means the same. Everywhere you hear about the iso is a prefix that say shape. Isomorphic is the same shape. Mimetic isomorphism occurs when organization imitate. For example, you can see sometimes between Samsung and Apple isomorphic. Why? Mimetic other organizations for change. Mimetic isomorphism occurs when organizations imitate or mimic the structures and practices of others, but not necessarily in the same sector, and usually those that they consider to be legitimate and successful. It is mimetic isomorphism. It's a very, very, very regular and popular phenomenon in every type of change, even in human beings. A lot of people in their personal life has some types of mimetic isomorphism. Why somebody are fashions? What is the function of fashioning? For example, when you are a fashion model, what is your function for your society? You create some thinking, some models for other people to be like you. You are their model. They are your role models. You want to play your daily life roles by their model, how they think, how they walk, how they dress, and other things. It is mimetic isomorphism. We want to mimic is imitate. We want to imitate their thinking, their talking, their dressing, and their social relationships and cars and house and other things. In business, in an organization, there is a very, very basic mimetic isomorphism for a small organization to imitate great and big companies to know about the future, new products, new procedures, and new ideas, but not at the same sector. I take some ideas from other people or as a company, from other companies or other organization, and enter that concept to my own company. It is coping strategy. I should use some strategies for coping, adapt their idea to my conditions, okay? The fashion setters, including consulting firms, this is a very important job now. It is called fashion setter. The fashion setters, including consulting firms, management gurus, or business publication and business school academics, don't necessarily profit from the critical assessment of these ideas. These are fashion setters. You know, you see that a lot of roles you can see here. Consulting firms, management guru. Guru is guru is something more than leaders. The final stage of wisdom, sometimes it is a Buddhism or a Hinduism word. It is guru. Guru is the great king. The final wise man is called sometimes guru. It is something like sage in English language. It is guru. Management gurus, business publications. Fads and fashions and an external environmental pressure. Management should follow these steps before adopting another management fad. At first, wait. Second, identify the essence of idea. It is very, very important, not the face of idea, not the external features of idea, essence of an idea. Look for results and experiments. These 4 stages, every manager who wants to accept some fads and some fashions to his or her company, to his or her organization, at first, wait, don't rush to adopt, but don't not dismiss the approach either. Give the new idea time to succeed or fail. Identify the essence of the idea. What is underlying logic? What are the underpinning assumptions? What fresh insights led to this development? It is very important. This part is very important and very hard. It is related to your wisdom. It is related to your intelligence. It is very hard to find the essence of an idea. It is something like creating that idea. Especially in imitation, it is very hard. Why? Because the profit of imitation is for you that not needy to think about it. You are imitating something. Also, who is the best animal for imitating?
Parrots.
Who is the symbol of imitation in animals?
Oh, symbol.
Maybe the chameleon. I don't know how to call it, but the one who changes his skin color.
Skin color is the change of skin color is not imitation, it is adaptation. Imitation is doing the same things that other people or other beings do. It is imitation. Change the skin color is sometimes an adaptation for to be
Parrot.
hidden from the dangers.
Is it a parrot?
Yeah, Pearl, and Pearl is voice imitation. Monkeys. Monkeys are the symbol of the imitation. If you do something in front of some monkeys, sometimes a monkey, they will do just the same activity you have acted. So monkeys are the symbol in all cultures. Monkeys are the symbol of imitation. Also some types of intelligence because they are very near to us. In the cortical part of our brain, monkeys, so-called apes, A-P-E-S, apes, are the basic part to be separated together. These are human, homo, these are apes. Until that part, we are just the same branch of the existence. Monkeys are the symbol of imitation, and also, as you said. Okay, so identify the essence of the idea is very important. Look for results. Did the new approach make the improvement that were expected? Were there any side effects?
You mute, Professor.
Can you hear me?
Now.
Okay, thank you. Set up a trial, gather the evidence, review, and continue if successful. It is called feedback. What is the difference? I want somebody to talk about 5 minutes, not also Luisa. Luisa has actually another one about the game theory for 10 minutes. I want other 3 students, someone talk about differences between feedback and feed forward. Okay, you will talk about the technical, managerial differences, not in the word.
Managerial difference between feedback and
feed forward. Feedback is very regular. But
Okay.
the concept of feed forward is not very popular in the people, also in managers and leaders.
Yeah,
I
I
want
haven't
to
heard
talk
about
about
it.
what?
I said I haven't heard about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of you talk 5 minutes about differences between feedback and feed forward. What is the application of feed forward? This is very good for you to think about these concepts because these
talk
are
about
the
it.
intelligence part of your leadership.
Okay.
David, you will talk or Kefir, you? Which?
I can talk about it, but
Okay, that's good.
okay.
I think, I don't know, that have you heard about the generations X, Y, Z, C? I don't know. But for me, it was new. I didn't hear it. I haven't heard it before. The depression area, we have generation X, Y, Z, and the other 6 external environmental pressure, generations of some types of external pressures for creating change. It is about the interval, the duration of burning and coming to the world based upon the years, especially before or after World War II. It is very important for us. The Depression era born 1912 to 1921, and World War I born 1922 to 1927. It is after. It is related to the adolescence and young adulthood of that person. What time is his or her adulthood, young adulthood, or adolescence? Post-war cohort, 1928 or 1940. The first is boomers. Boomers 1 and boomers 2 are very important. Boomers 1 are called the baby boomers. It is a very, very, very important phrase you should remind in your memory. Baby boomers, born 1946 to 1954. And boomers 2 or Generation Jones, born 1955 to 1965. Totally, before 1946 and 1965, people born in this duration of time are called boomers, and we will talk about them. Generation X, born 1966 to 1976. I am from Generation 6, 1971. Generation Y, children of the boomers, not the next generation, echo boomers or millennium. Why 1977 to 1994? Because at the first years of the new millennium, after the year 2000, they will enter their adulthood, young adulthood or adolescence, when they have born in between 1977 to 1994. They are Generation Y. And Generation Z, born 1995, 2012. Point. Generation C is very important for us. Not Generation X, not Y, not Z. What is Generation C? Why we should call them Generation C? What the C is indicated at? C stands for connected, communication, content-centric, computerized, community-oriented, always clicking. They are the generation of internet. Generation C, you are from Generation C. You are the first generation in the history of human that computer and cyberspace is a very, very serious part of your life. You know, after Homo sapiens, we are all Homo sapiens. Now we are entering the new part of humanity. It is Homo digitus. We are the only human beings in the history of humanity that we are trying and experiencing cyberspace as a very, very real, important, and serious space. Before us, anybody in the universe hasn't experienced any type of cyberspace, digital space. So you are now Homo digitus. And after 50 to 100 years after now, we will have a very, very new generation of thinking and communication. Because of that, Generation C stands for connected, communicating, content-centric, computerized, community-oriented, and always clicking. C for clicking. Baby boomers or silver tsunami or tsunami, boomers who were born after Second World War have been described as a silver tsunami. Why? Because the population of the world decreased during the World War II. And after that, we have an explosion of population with 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 or 7 babies for each family. And it is called silver tsunami, sweeping across affected countries. They started celebrating their 60th birthday from around 2006. In 2014, the global population of those aged 65 or more was 600 million people all around the world. It was predicted that by 2034, that population would almost double to 1.1 billion. Because of that, this generation is very important for management, medical, social, retirement, and other parts that are very important external pressures on the organization. Because of that, baby boomers are the baby who were born after World War II between 1946 to 1965. And now they are near 60 to 70 years old. And you are seeing the statistic of the baby boomers. These are the demographic part of our discussion. Okay, so let's go to baby boomers. Okay, again, exit interviews, old worker, how to manage old workers. At first, exit interviews to capture their wisdom, mentoring system in which boomers coach their replacements, phased retirements rather than a sudden stop. It is very important. Shorter working weeks with flexible hours, pools of retired staff who can be called upon for special projects, and working during busy periods punctuated by Benidorm leave. What is Benidorm leave? Is a period of up to 3 months unpaid leave between January and March that doesn't affect an individual employment history. Have you heard this phrase before or not? Native Americans say me. Have you heard Benidorm leave before this class or not? I haven't heard, I am asking you. David and Luisa, in Europe, have you heard Benidorm leave? Or is there such concept in Europe, for example, or in Mexico or other parts that we should have a leave near 3 months, but no effect on our employment history? I haven't heard. It is very new for me. Because of that, I'm asking you. That maybe I am not native. I'm asking you if you are native or Luisa from Europe. Have you heard in Europe or not?
I haven't heard of it, but it doesn't mean it's not existing.
Yeah. When you have heard, it is mean that it is not so popular. It may be, maybe existed, but it is mean that it is not so popular, and I think that other students say haven't. Generation C is the label given to those born after 1990. C stands for this, and this is the first generation to have grown up with the internet, social media, and mobile handheld computing, for whom 24/7 mobile and internet connectivity are taken for granted, and freedom of expression is the norm. It is very, very important. All you are Generation C, born after 1990. Everybody here? That's good. I'm the oldest one. Okay. Other things and external is external mandate and external environment pressure. It is CSR, corporate social responsibility. CSR movement expects companies to promote environmental or green issues as well as social policies. Green issues about the environmental, cleaning the air and other parts. This has become a major source of pressure for change, especially in car industries, in the smoking industries, in heavy smoking industry about cigarettes and other parts. Heavy smoking the industry that they will produce a lot of smokes in the air because of their production course. And coercive isomorphism, we have talked about, change is often forced on an organization through formally mandated legislation and regulation, which may be formal or informal. Formal include government mandates such as new laws and policies. Organizations are forced to change to meet new requirements relating to, for example, population, taxation, or affirmative actions. And informal pressure arises when interdependent organizations pursue, perhaps force each other to behave in particular ways and to collude with others in certain actions. Please pay attention to informal coercive pressures. It is very destroyer, very, very destroyer. Because of what? Because of that, you don't know anything about the informal coercive pressures. You know about the legal. You have a legal department in your company, and you have hired some lawyers, and they will protect you and your company by laws. It is formal. You know what are the problems, what is legal, what is illegal. You can go to court and other things. But informal, it is not predictable. You should have a very good data collection about your competition with other companies. Pay attention, very, very smart attention to informal coercive pressures. Globalization, that intensification of worldwide social and business relationship, then link localities in such a way that local conditions are shaped by distant event. It is called in globalization, motto is think global and act think global and act local. It is the motto of globalization. Think global and act local. It is the major concept of globalization, to globalize some local actions in certain types of industries. Globalization, you can see technological innovation, international trade, mature markets, changing world order, and go to globalization and other parts which you can find in the book. By hyper competition, welcome to hyper competition world. It is the first generation that you will see hyper competition. I have a question. Why a good and successful company like Apple, like Google, like Microsoft, like Samsung, why they present every year 2, sometimes 3 new models to their own models, not in contrast with the other companies' models, to their own models. A little difference, but they call, yes, it is 11, it is 11 Pro, it is 11 Pro Max. And what is the difference? It is only, for example, it has 2 cameras, it has 3 cameras, it has 3 cameras large size, it has 3 cameras semi size, it has 2 cameras large size, and very, very little changes, I know. But they call, yes, it is another model. Why? As a leader in the future of your company, talk to me about the essence, about the logic behind of this thinking. Think that you are the general manager of a great company, and I hope that you will be in the near future. Why? What is the logic behind this? 1 minute you can talk about it. Any view, it is not important to be correct or not correct. I want to hear from you about your mind for hyper competition. Yes, same.
I think it's to stay up to date with technology, just because as companies like Samsung and all the Android companies, they're upgrading their models as the technology changes. Apple is also trying to compete and also stay up to date.
Only for technologies?
Sir?
Do you think it is only because of high technology? What is the logic behind the using of high tech? Yes, it is because high tech. But why we use high tech? Is there any real market necessity or market demand for new, very detailed differences? Because of each of these new detailed differences has a great plan for creating very, very detailed, very small changes. Because of that, they said it is a new, not generation, it is the new model for the same, for example, number. You said because of high tech has a good capacity for changing so fast, so rapid in hyper competition and other things. About the customers, how do you think about your customers' mind? I think some, for example, adolescent people that change their mobile, their cell phone 2 times per year, at least 2 times. 2 times per year for one cell phone. For example, at the first of the year, 11, at the middle of the year, 11 Pro, at the end of the year, 11 Pro Max, and after that again the next year. How do you think? It is a very good field in psychology. It is called consumer psychology and customer psychology. Please, if you want to be a good sales force and if you want to be a good HR manager, read and study about the consumer psychology and customer psychology. Very good data for how can you analyze persons in total as population or as individual. Okay. When organizations form other sectors, start selling products and services that compete with yours, you are facing hyper competition. Apple, Samsung, Google, sometimes in car industry because it is very huge, in cyber space, even in service companies. For example, Facebook, it's a service company, no product, no real product. In service companies, even for example, these days in Moodle, these days in Zoom, hyper competition. Just now I am talking with you. I have checked 3 parts from the early morning: Zoom, Skype, and Google Meet, and different services with very, very different prices and very different overall coverage. Only US, out of US, Europe, US, now global. It's only services, I know. But I think Robin said to me that she had taken a course with Anthony Robbins about 2 months ago. 23,000 people have joined the Zoom. 23,000 people have joined the 4-day conference of Anthony Robbins. The real, I think the real was about $3,000. If you want to go conference in the real space, these conference was about $400. Good for customers, good for audience, good for performance. What is this? It is a real, it is a cyberspace. 23,000 people, 4 days in Zoom meeting. Fantastic. Because of that, I think, and also other people think, that we are going to become a homo digitus person with digital real world, not cyber world. It is cyber, but it is real. It is not virtual. It is completely real. As we have a technique in psychotherapy, it is virtual reality therapy, VRT. We use head mountain and use for obsession, for depression, for anxiety, other types of disorders. We use head mountain as a real experience and change their mind and change their brain to have a good therapeutic effects. Terms such as disruptive innovation, high velocity, post-Socratic, and chaotic have been used to describe this environment, which some commentators associate with the postmodern organizational paradigms and other things. Okay. Corporate reputation is another thing. For example, yes, it is not very specified for Eastern countries. No, in Western countries also is in America. corporate reputation. What are the personal factors of corporate reputation? I have seen or I have heard that sometimes, for example, one person in board of directors of a company lost his or her reputation, and the stock market of the company come down. Only one person, for example, because of sexual problems, say, yes, the general director of the company have, it is approved that has had some sexual problems. The stock market will reduce the price of the stock. How do you think? Is it fair? It is a company. It is not a personal issue. But because of one personal problem, one of the director, one of the great chefs, one of the managers, great managers, the stock market will reduce the price of the stocks. Because of that, corporate reputation is very important, very, very important in two parts: quality and sustainability. Quality of delivery and sustainability for after selling. Now, for example, in modern countries like America, like North and Central European countries, some parts of China and also India, maintenance and customer service is very, very, very important. In America, everybody loves one phrase when he or she is buying. It is, what's your return policy? Return policy is very, very attractive word for buyers in America. Everybody loves it. For example, Walmart say, until 90 days, no question asked. It is our return policy. Nordstrom says, after 45 years, if your ticket, if the ticket and the bag is not separated from your, for example, dress, or also Target, return policy makes loyalty in the customers. Makes loyalty in the customers. You will have a Walmart addicted. You will be a, for example, Costco. I am a Costco addicted. Everything, I love it. Sometimes I know some people are, for example, Nordstrom addicted. Everything they want, for example, in dressing part. Some people are a lot of people, not some people, a lot of people are Walmart addicted. Everything. Have a good time in Walmart. Everything you want, you can find in Walmart 24 hours. Okay? Because of loyalty, they said to you, no question asked. Think about it. It is very high cost for Walmart stores to return everything before 2 weeks for electronic parts until 90 days for everything. It is very high cost for Walmart. One store, my cousin works as a customer service manager in one of the stores in Texas. One store in 1 year has lost $2 million. $2 million, the only one store, only because of return policy, $2 million. Only one store in Texas. Lower rates of taxes is for Texas, $2 million. Why? You will be one of the, maybe one of the greatest decision makers for some stores, some companies like Walmart. You should think about the logic and essence of the concept behind these decisions. Change is often associated with maintaining proper corporate governance mechanism to ensure a positive reputation. And resistant to change. What time is it? Okay. Have it 10 minutes until until 6:45. And after 10 minutes, be here to continue the discussion until near 8. And after that, you will have a quiz. Okay, I'm waiting for the other students. You are, Luisa, always on time. Waiting for starting the class. Oh, Marcela, how are you? You are muted.
Oh, sorry. Now it's me. I'm good.
Are you
Better.
okay?
Yeah, yeah.
You are in hospital.
Yes.
Yes, that's good. A class from hospital.
4 weeks already.
4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. Only 2.5 weeks more, and then I can go out.
So long.
Yeah, I
Are you
know.
good? Are you good now? Are you okay?
Getting better. They're taking care of me.
Okay. We
Not
pray for you.
not easy, not easy.
Yeah.
But I'm strong.
Yes, I
have
know you.
my
I know
class.
you. I know you. I don't know you. Yes, yes. You are so strong. I know you.
Thank you.
Stronger than these problems.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Let's go to share a screen and start chapter 4. Okay. We have some models for change in organizations. Also, some of them you can use in your daily life. Different contents in the same forms. The form are the same, but contents, for example, it is organizational change, it is personal change, social change, lovely change, or spiritual change, economic change, different contents, nearly with the same forms. So you can use them in your life, daily life. Why it is called diagnostic? Because there are some criteria. It is like a disorder. When you have a disorder and you go for a psychotherapist, for a physician to know what's your problem, we have a psychotherapist or they have as physicians some diagnostic criteria. What are the symptoms for having a diagnosis as, for example, depression? You should have 9 symptoms for 2 weeks, 5 out of 9 for 2 weeks, and other, and after that, you will be diagnosed as major depression, for example. In change, we have some criteria for knowing, is it a good time for creating change? Is there any readiness or receptiveness for creating change? Are people around you, around your company or inside your company, are they ready for accepting the changeable environment or not? As always, human beings are change resistant. Regularly, we are change resistant. Why? Because changes mean that your brain should have some functions in different ways of thinking, different ways of feeling, different ways of acting, and different ways of communicating. And this is meant for your brain as a hazard, as a danger. Your brain doesn't like to think in different ways because of survival. Like other mammals, your brain is built for survival, not for growth. Because of that, growth and development is very intentional. It is not regular, it is not natural. It is very intentional. You should have some force for change. You should have some force for development. You should have some force for growth. But as an animal, as a very high level animal with a very good cortical layer of your brain, your brain's only function is survival. For other parts, for social life, for business life, for organizational, you should use your brain, your mental capacity is so intentional, so goal-directed. Except of that, it is chaotic. Your brain is chaotic when it is very natural. It has very natural functions. Because of that, you need some models to assess, to gathering information about the readiness to change in yourself, in your family, in your society, in your community, in your relationship, in your organization, in your business, in your company? And how can you manage the chaotic conditions when we need some change? Because of that, we have some models about the organizational aspects of change and strategic aspects of change. I hope we have enough time to the end of this chapter, because at the end of the chapter, there are some good graphs, very, very short graphs to show you what is the relationship, for example, between your power and your demands of life, your interest of life. And sometimes it is not in your book, but as a positive psychologist, I can say you that there are some valid researchers and scientific finding about the relationship between your power, your interest, your income, and your happiness. Because a lot of people are rich, but they are not happy. A lot of people have a good power, external and internal power, and they are rich, and they are satisfied, but they are not happy. And they come to counselors, to coaches, to psychotherapists that I have everything, but I don't experience some good level of serenity, peace of mind, and other things. Again, we have in the models, we talked about in the last hour, in the previous hour, we talked about the 6 different images of a change manager as a director, navigator, caretaker, coach, interpreter, and nurturer. Every subject we will talk about in this book, we will have some aspect about these 6 images of change managers, or 6 characters of change managers. Again, director, using diagnostic model to build up your own knowledge. Director has control, wants to have control above the activities. So intendant, full intendant. So using diagnostic models to build up your own knowledge base and confidence about what needs to change by using models that specify relationships among variables and pinpoint where change is needed when things are not going well. Present activities, control, so intentionally. Navigator is someone who wants to control activities partially intended, not full intended, not unintended, partially or semi-intended. You will find the diagnostic models attractive. Models are ways of mapping the environment they describe. They use the models of change, the models of creative change for something like interpreter. You know, when you are not navigator, you want to shape and produce new behaviors, you are called interpreter. Out of the activities, going to the potentials. And caretaker is a very passive, very, very passive change manager. Caretaker and nurturer are very passive, unintended change manager. Caretaker, you will be less convinced of the capacity of the diagnostic model to support radical change, but several of them, for example, Pestel and other, we will talk about other models, provide insight into trends in the external environment that you will have to take into account. These are the first 3 character, 3 personality, 3 icons of change managers with different level of intended. And at the other parts, to shape behaviors, we have coaches, interpreter, and nurturer. Coaches, you will focus on the diagnostic model. Diagnostic model in every style of coaching, business coaching, life coaching, executive coaching. Now we have some type of high performance coaching, not in a sport, in business, and other parts of coaching. Models and diagnostic models and science of self models are very important for us. Now, you know, the major part of my activity out of the university is life coaching and executive coaching for soft skills for people who are engaged in their life with some problems and want to be better and better and better. If you want not to be so bad or so sad, it is about psychotherapy. If you want to improve better and better and better your life, it is about coaching. We will focus on the diagnostic models that highlight the goals being sought and competencies needed to attain them. And after that, it is interpreter. You will be attracted to the diagnostic models that emphasize images, framing, and cognitive maps. Because of that, we say that interpreters want to give meaning to the need of change, give meaning production, or meaning giving. There is a very good sentence about the meaning of life in psychology and existential approach to psychology. It is said that the meaning of life is the meaning you give to life. There is no absolute final meaning or goal for life. In this approach also, other approach have considered some final goal or final meaning for the life. But in the existential approach to psychology, that your existence is prior to your essence. Your existence is very important. It is meant that the meaning of life is the meaning you give to life. You are meaning producer. You are meaning creator of your life. Because of that, it says that interpreter, when wants to use the change or model change or models of change, he or she said, what is the meaning of need for change? And finally, nurturer is someone who wants to shape the behaviors, the potentials, the capability, but unintended, with no intention. Having an interest in emergent strategy, you may remain unconvinced as to the value of such diagnostic models. Advantage of diagnostic models: simplify a complex situation. Every model has something like this. The functions of models are simplifications of the complication. When you have some model, for example, about the human behavior has a model of 4 components. First, you think. After that, you feel. After that, you act. And after that, you have some results. And it is not in a linear model. It is a circular model. If you want to change your thinking or your, for example, behavior actions, you can only change your emotions. It is not absolutely related to your thinking. You can not to change your thinking, yes, but you can change your behaviors. How? By changing your emotions. And suddenly, sometimes in life, you have by chance some good results. And after that, you feel that, wow, how positive I am thinking, how positive I am feeling. You know that you have a good chance for good results. So it is a circular model. You, as the most complicated being all around the world, human and human mind and human brain is the most complicated being all around the world in the universe, as we know. You can have a very simple model, for example, like this model, I talk about it with you, to simplification of your brain as a very complicated maturity and very complicated being in the universe. In the business also, models will help us to simplify the complicated situation, to have some tools for taking some good and efficient decisions. Identify priorities for attention. Priority is the first part of every type of programming. If you don't know your priorities, you will be confused. You will have some 2 parts. First, role confusion. Second, role conflict. If you don't know about your priorities, you have these problems, role confusion and role conflict. Why? Because you don't know which is first, which is best, which is unique, which is second. You are confused about your roles in the daily life. Highlight interconnectedness of various organizational property for strategy and structure. Provide a common language with which to discuss organizational characteristics. It is very important, very important. You should know your professional terminology, your professional language. If you don't know your professional language, or if you are not so skillful about it, you are not professional, because professional language is a very good sign that you are educated in your proficiency. One of the greatest and one of the final goals of every academic education is knowing about the professional literacy, professional language. With that professional language, you can talk to your professional society, professional community, and outside of your community, other people knows that, yes, he or she is professional in his or her field. Why? How other people know that you are professional? Because you know your professional word, your professional terminology, your professional literacy. It is very important. So models give you a very good dominancy over other people that they are not educated in your field. Why? Because you know, for example, I as a psychology know some models of behavior, some models of thinking, some models of analysis, and other things and other things and other things. And I said to you, yes, I know your ego has some problems with your id, and your id has some problems with your superego. And finally, your guilt feeling is related to your, for example, lower self-esteem. And you say, what? What are you saying, doctor? I said, yes, your id and super, it is a very professional literacy. But if I say this sentence and say this analysis to one of my colleagues, he or she said, yes, I know. He has some problem, for example, for education, self-efficacy, because it's a very professional word, professional terminology. And provide a guide to the sequence of action to take action in change situation. We talked about it, higher probability, purposes. Okay. The first model is the 6-box organizational model. I want to end. Okay, it's good. Purpose, a structure. It is the first model of change for organization. It is 6 sets of factors, boxes or places to look for trouble with or without a theory. Very, very straight. It is not theory based. It is based upon the components. Purposes, what business are we in? Structure, how do we divide up the work? Rewards, do all tasks have incentives? Helpful mechanisms, relationships, and leadership. Does someone keep the other 5 boxes in balance? Is there any leader for our problem solving strategies or not? Action take, it is getting a little, yes, it is good. It is the first and very simple model. The next one is 7S framework. We are talking about changing in 7 words which begin with alphabet S. It is called the 7S framework. As a change diagnostic, this framework emphasizes the interconnectedness of the 7 sets of factors, and also argues the soft issues, style, staff, skills, shared values are just as important as structure, strategy, and systems. These are sets, soft sets. These are called soft skills or soft sets for changing style, staff, skills, shared values, 4, 5 structure, 6 strategy, and 7 system. These are the components. It is not very simple and very basic models. We have some better and more efficient models for creating change and for analyzing and assessment and evaluation. Assessment is about gathering information, data collection, and evaluation about the data analysis and some results and discussion about the problems in a company. We have more efficient models that we will talk just now about them. But these are the basic models, and they will give you some keywords about the elements you should think in a company, in an organization, in a business. What the element you should think, what the element you should gather information about. For example, about your style, your organizational style, your staffs, your organizational skills or your employee skills, skills needed and skills owned, and the skills should be trained, and shared values. It is very important, especially in the companies with a lot of different persons from different cultures. Shared value is very important. Shared organizational value, not shared cultural values, not shared social values, not shared personal values. We are talking about shared organizational values. And just important as the structure of organization, because everybody think about the structure, strategy, and systems. These are very popular elements of change in every organization: structure, changing the strategy, changing system. And this model says that very hidden parts of your organization, like your staff, like the styles, like the shared values, like the skills, are important as the other very covert and overt. Those parts are covert, and these parts are very overt. The structure, strategy, and system, it is very visible, it is observable. These models talk about this. You can see here, 7S framework: structure, systems, style, staff, skills, strategy. This is on your book also. One of the first good models are STAR model. An organization is effective when 5 components of organizational design are in alignment. 5 components. We talk about 7S. Now we are talking about 5 components. Because of 5, we call it a STAR model, with 5 different directions in a star you can see. An organization is effective when 5 components of organizational design are in alignment. What are those 5 organizational design? Strategy, structure, processes and leader capability, reward system, and people practices. You can see here. Strategy, structure, processes and lateral capability, reward systems, and people practices. What are the components of a strategy? Vision of the company. The vision is the basic and the most important, most significant word you can use. Instead of say strategy, we can say vision. Strategy about the future. Vision is also about future. And direction. When you have vision and you have direction and you have force, then you are motivated. And competitive advantages about the strategy. It is very important. You know these words better than me because you have read about a lot about these concepts, or you will study in the other courses about the strategy of thinking. Structure, power and authority, reporting relationships and organizational roles, processes and lateral capability, networks, processes, teams, integrative roles, matrix structures, and reward system and people practice. These are the STAR model of change. The implication are strategy lead to confusion. Implication for misalignment. If they are not in the same alignment, a strategy, misalignment of a strategy lead to confusion. Misalignment of a structure leads to friction. Misalignment of process lead to gridlock. Misalignment of rewards lead to internal competition. Internal competition is very, very important and can be very destroyer for a company because it is not internal improvement, it is competition. It is winner and loser. If you don't have any winner or loser, it is not a real competition. Competition is something like fighting. And in a misalignment of people activities leads to low performance. Okay. For frame model, we are talking about the different diagnostic organizational models, that how can you good diagnosis about the features, about the elements, about the essence of the problems of your company, of your business, which leads you to know what type of change you should create in your company. It is very important because you are the responsible of the changes. If you want to, for example, if you are a leader You should be responsible and accountable of the changes. Nobody can answer the stakeholders, the shareholders, the other personnel, other staffs of the company instead of you. You will be the general manager. You will be the leader. You will be the manager. So you should have a good diagnosis about the changes needed for company for improve and never improve of your company. It is 4-frame model you can see here, 4-frame. It is structural frame, human resource frame, political frame, and symbolic frame. And now you have organizational metaphor, factory or machine for structural frame, and family for human resource frame. And what is the organizational metaphor for political frame? It is jungle. You say it's like a jungle. And what is the organizational metaphor for symbolic frame? It is theater, carnival, or temple. And central concepts, for example, for a structural frame, it is roles, goals, policies, technology, environment, and human resources needs, skills. It talk about the same words you can use in organization from other parts of your life, from other aspects of your life. A structure, human resource, political, or symbolic. There are 4 frames that can frame and can shape in your organization in 1, 2, 3, 4 aspects: metaphor, concepts, leadership, and challenges, leadership challenges. And you can see that with these words, there are very good words for simple people who wants to know about how to have a good analysis about the needs for change in a company or an organization. These are 4 frames: structural frame, human resource frame, political frame, and symbolic frame. We are talking now about this is over. Before that, you see organizational models. The 4-frame model is the last model for organizational model in a company. Now we are talking about the strategical or change models, other types of model for change. The first model is gap analysis. Can you say me about for example, generation gap? What is the meaning of generation gap? How do you think? I know the word, you know the meaning of the word. How do you think about the concept of generation gap, Luisa, or Marcelina, or David, or Chinenye? Different cultures. 2 of my students are from Europe, Luisa and Marcelina. One of them is from, David, you are from Mexico?
Brazil?
Brazil, okay. South, and Chine, you are Native American?
I'm Nigerian.
Okay, okay.
African.
So we have from different parts of the world. For example, in Nigeria, what is the meaning of generation gap? Is there any generation gap? Is there any generation gap in Poland or in Germany?
Same.
But
Everywhere is the same. It's
Yeah.
differences between culture, what we're thinking, how we thinking, policies, politics, what we like it, how we like it, how we behavior. Is everything's included of our existing.
it is very huge differences or not. For example, with you and your
But-
mother, your grandma, your mother. I know your mother is very near to you. For example, with your grandma, is there a very huge gap, very great gap between your thinking style, you and your grandma?
No, of course, because there was a different generation, different time of existing. There was no even
Mhm.
computer, nothing, you know. Actually, there was, but not handy to everyone, you know.
You were not at the class, the first part. We talk about generation. David, what was the generation of computer was said generation? What was the name of generation of
What generation I am?
generation C? generation of computer, generation of communication, generation of connectedness. Yes, it is a very, very new and very important and very different generation. Generation C. It is called Generation C. If you forget the name, say computer. Begins with C. It is Generation C.
After the
Generation of,
90s, right?
huh?
After the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And it's different between parents, grandparents, you know, and you can see that, you know. Obviously, the best way to see is even you are eating on the, even you have a dinner on the table with all of them. So to study any subject and to have the same meaning and the same value on the same subject, well, we're very hard to find the solution, you know, because grandparents, they have always rights. Then
Yeah.
the parents, and then on the end, they are we.
Yeah, yeah. They are always the king of the family, always.
So even
Nobody
they
has
have
other
a right, you know, you have
other
to
right
agree.
to talk against, for example, grandpa or grandma. Also, in some cultures, like America, it is not very, very serious. Like, for example, European people or African people. Everywhere families are expanded or extended, they are live together. The role of grandpa and grandma will be very greater in collectivistic societies, for example, like Far East, in China, in Japan, in Korea, that family members live together in one single location. It is expanded families. But in individualistic societies like North Europe, like America, that everybody, every family, every single man or woman, or finally with his or her family members, spouse and a child, as a very separated location for living. It is not very popular to have some authority from grandpa, grandma, or mother and father. But in traditional society, yeah. So gap analysis is one of the other diagnostic, strategic, and change models. We finished the organizational models for change. It is gap analysis. Gap analysis, this is a model used for reviewing the organization current situation relative to the situation in which it wishes to be. Present situation and ideal situation. In psychology, we say you have two types of self, real self and ideal self. If the gap between your real self and your ideal self, it's a great gap, the more it is great, the more you feel anxiety. The more the distance, the gap between your real self and ideal self, the more it is great, the more the anxiety you will experience. Anxiety is because the gap between your real self and ideal self. So go to the organizations, we have a present situation and we want to be in a desired future situation. It is gap analysis. How can we how can we have a good analysis about this gap? With these questions. Where are we now? Present situation. Where do we want to get to? Where do we want the desired situation, the desired outcome, our goal, our wishes for our organization or company? And what do we need to do in order to get there? This is the strategic part. When you are talking, when you are planning for actions, for your achievement to the future goals, it is called a strategy. What do we need to do in order to get there? Present, future, ways of achievement, tools for achievement, and how can we go, and with one, with who, or when, and which place, and other parts, and with methodology or procedure we want to use to go from this place to our desired place. It is about a strategy. It is gap analysis. The first model, from the strategic perspective, for creating change in the companies is the gap analysis. The second model is called PESTEL framework. PESTEL is about political, economic, social, technological, legal, and ecological. It is the abbreviation of PESTEL, political, economic, social, technological, legal, and ecological. PESTEL is an environmental scanning tool. It is very important. These aspects are very important aspects, very effective aspects of your environment as an external pressure for change in your company, which provides a structured method for organizing and understanding complex trends and developments across the political, economic, social, technological, legal, and ecological factors that can affect an organization. When you are gathering information about these aspects of your organization, it is external factors. These are environmental pressures on your company. You are using PESTEL framework. Okay, you can see political, economic, social, the organization, and other parts. And finally, you can find in this table in your book the other aspects, subcategorization of each concept: political or economic and social and technological and legal. This method is very, very good method to use also in your daily life, personal daily life. It is scenario planning. It is narration therapy. How can you choose your narration about your life? Narration is sentences in mind. What are you talking about your organization? What are you thinking in your mind about your company? And how do you think about yourself, your family, your society, your community in your mind? Narration is sentences in the mind, okay? It is scenario planning, creating stories of multiple possible futures that an organization might face as a basis for considering potential actions if various features emerge. It is something like prediction and prevention. Prediction and prevention. If you have a good prediction about the future, you can have a good prevention for the future hazard, for the future dangers, for the future high-risk factors for your organization. So scenario planning is one of the good strategic models for analyzing the importance of your risk factors in your company. As a change diagnostic, scenario planning encourage creative blue skies decision-making to identify the most probable futures for the organization. Blue skies is means that when you know and when you want, where do you want to go, you have a clear, you have a transparent future for your company. This analysis then forms the basis for prioritizing, planning, and acting to implement appropriate changes. This possible scenario, it is this scenario which was created by PricewaterhouseCoopers 2007 about the blue skies of 2020, about this year. Really, this is very interesting. It has three parts, that company. It is a consultancy company. In 2007, they have talked about the 2020. Orange world, green world, and blue world. Orange world, big companies have been replaced by networks of small, specialized enterprises. People work on short-term contracts, exploring job opportunity online through portals developed by Craft Guides. 2007, about 2020. And green world, demographic change, climate, and sustainability are key business drivers. Employment law employee relations, and corporate responsibility are vital in this heavily regulated environment. And the second part for 2020, when they were talking about it at 2007, it was about blue world, second part of the word, second dimension of the word. Huge corporations are like mini states, providing staff with housing, health, education, and other welfare benefits. Human capital metrics are sophisticated, and people management is as powerful as finance. So you can see that a consultant company in 2007, regardless of COVID-19 is specific crisis. It is not predictable. Also for general people, for general consultant, it was not predictable. With an interpretation of general conditions in 2007, a consultancy company, so-called PricewaterhouseCoopers, in 2007, talked about the future of the world in 2020. It is called scenario planning. And what is a strategy? What is the definition of a strategy? A strategy is about future, committing resources to activities based on assumptions, premises, and beliefs about an organization environment, society and its structure, the market, the customer, and the competition, its mission, and the core competencies needed to accomplish that mission. Only in one word, answer my question without any explanation. The most important competency, which is the most important, most crucial, the most basic competency for a manager. At first, Luisa, one word. The most crucial competency needed for a manager. Marcelina, you are muted.
Yes.
What is the most crucial competency needed for a manager? Only one word.
Decision making.
Luisa?
The responsibility for the good and bad decisions and for the workers.
Okay. Luisa?
Decision making, I'd say.
David?
I say leadership.
The most crucial tennis. Okay. Kenneth? Chineye?
Confidence.
I would say time management.
Yeah, the most crucial competency a manager needs. The basic, the most important.
Communication.
Communication. And Kenneth, I didn't hear you idea.
I had said confidence, but I was wrong. I had said decision making. I think it's decision making.
Okay. Something like this, decision making, communication, and I think analytical and critical thinking is the basic part of everyone who wants to have a good decision making ability, critical thinking. Also, there are various ideas about the most crucial tendencies and competencies, because we have two words very important in management: confident, competent, and confident. You should have competent and confident. If you have only confidence about yourself, self-confidence, it is not good for a manager. You are a chef for a tribe. If you have only competency with no confidence, it is not also so good. Why? Because you don't know how to handle your tendency, how to handle your competencies. Okay. Strategy and change intersect. Strategy and change intersect. Why? Because strategies can change. It is called change of a strategy. And change may be necessary in order to realize a set strategy, change for a strategy. So we have two phrases: change of a strategy, change for a strategy. Elements of a strategy. 5 elements of a strategy are considered mutually reinforcing arenas, vehicles, differentiators, staging, and economic logic. Any misalignment of these signifies the need for change. You can see here, these are the elements of a strategy. They should be in the same line. They should have alignments. Any misalignments between these elements of a strategy, it will create the need for change. Arenas, what business will be in. Vehicles, how will we get there? We are talking about the elements of a strategy in every aspect of your life, not even in business organization. In every aspect of your life, we are talking about the elements of a strategy. If you don't know how to think strategically, you cannot reach anywhere in personal life, in economic life. In a strategy is the most strategical thinking is the most important skill you should know as a successful man or woman. These are the elements of a strategy also in the organizations. Arenas, what business will be in, what I want to be in the future as a person, what my family will be in the future. It is, for example, strategical thinking for your family, for your business, for your, what spiritual state I want to be in the future. It is about your spiritual living. And vehicles about the tools that can reach and achieve your goals, that can help you facilitate achievement of your goals. Vehicles, how will we get there? Differentiators, how will we win in the marketplace if you don't have alternative procedures and if you don't have any other and second choice and third choice for your market? You cannot have a good survival in the market. You will destroy your market and you will destroy your company. And staging, it is very important. It is the core competency of each type of management. Staging. A good manager can slicing a very huge procedure to very small slices, small stages of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and final stage. It is called planning. It is called programming. Dividing a huge journey to different stops, step 1, step 2, step 3, until the end of the destiny. And economic logic behind your strategy thinking. And another part is 6 key evaluation criteria. How can you have some criteria for evaluation for the need? Does your strategy fit with what's going on the environment? This is the first key element, key criteria for evaluating the strategical thinking about the change. Second, does your strategy exploit your key sources? 3, will your envisaged differentiators be sustainable? We are talking about the same elements in 6 factors. Are the elements of your strategy internally consistent? Do you have enough resources to pursue this strategy? It is very important. If you don't have any resources, any good and enough resources for your strategic planning, or if you cannot find any future resources and sources for strategic planning, you are not able to be successful to achieve your goals. It is not strategic thinking, it is only dreaming. The major differences between strategical thinking and dreaming is that strategical thinking, the similarity is all of them are about future. When you are thinking strategically, you are thinking about the future. When you are dreaming, you are thinking about the future. These are the similarities. But the major differences is that in strategical thinking, you have ways, you have sources, you have resources, you have your own agent to create the change. In strategical thinking, you can talk very practically about the change, creating change. And finally, is your strategy implementable? These are the 6 key evaluation criteria for strategic thinking about the changing in organization. Another part, we have some strategic inventory, identifies manager strategic assumptions and their consistency with the business environment, define the boundaries, define the key assumptions. It is very important. What are your pre-assumptions about the change? How much you are optimistic, how much you are pessimistic, how much you are courageous, how much you are fearful, what are the results of your previous parental decision makings in your life, how was the results of your previous managerial decisions in your life, and other parts. Why it is called inventory? Because it is mining your mind, go deeping your mind and having some access to your deep assumptions about the change. If you don't know yourself, you cannot be successful. You can achieve some successes, but you will not be successful. You don't have any good sense of success in your life. Why? Because success should be at the same line with your core beliefs. If you have a good money, you have a good prestigious social life, but these are not at the same line, alignment with your core beliefs about your life, you will be successful, but you will not be satisfied or you will not be happy. Because of that, something like this strategic inventory, mining your mind, going to the deepest part of your mind about your assumptions and pre-assumptions about your changing in your company, changing in your business. Are our key assumptions broadly understood? Can we understand ourselves also? And do we have a process for reviewing and validating our key assumptions and premises? You can see here, symbols, power structures, organizational structures, control system, rituals and routines, and stories about the culture. Other parts is cultural web. We consider culture as a web, different elements to be together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the elements of cultural web for creating a change in your company. Stories of the change, symbols of the change, power structures for change, organizational structures. These are different. Power structure about the authority in your organization. Organizational structure, it is about the communication between different levels of management, different levels of employees, and upper level management and lower or mid-level management. These are the organizational structures. Control system. What is the process of controlling of activities or shaping new ideas in your company? And rituals and routines. Rituals and routines is very important, especially in the companies with some basic culture dominant in your company, and the stories and the paradigm. And culture provides a mapping of organization's culture through a focus on 7 elements: paradigm, rituals and routines, stories, symbols, control system, power structures, and organizational structure. And you can see in your book the definition of these parts. These are about, for example, when you, let me make it. The paradigm, the set of assumptions commonly held throughout the organization with respect to basic elements of the business, such as what business we are in, how we compete, who our competitors are. These are the paradigm. Every type of paradigm is something like this. Rituals and routines. This concerns how organizational members treat each other and, perhaps more importantly, associate beliefs as to what is right and proper and valued in this regard. It is rituals and routines. And stories. As told by organization members, the stories as a form of oral history and communicate and reinforce core elements of the culture, organizational culture, symbols, control system, and power structure, and other parts. Now we are entering the third part of the change in our organization. It is called diagnosing readiness or receptiveness for change. It is very important. If you are not ready for change, you will have always a change resistance in yourself, in your organization, in your society, in your family, in your job. Change needs readiness or receptiveness. You should have some good level of acceptance for change. Why? Because change will destroy your past life history of your organization, past life history of your family, past life history of your society. It's about change. So if you want to create a change, you should create some levels of readiness or receptiveness. Receptiveness is something internal, more internal. That readiness is external, and receptiveness is something like mental readiness. It is called receptive. Diagnosing organizational readiness for change, diagnosing individual readiness, and diagnosing stakeholders' readiness. In the aspect of organizational readiness, we have 4 elements: the receptive organizations, absorptive capacity, the innovative organization, and force field analysis. Also, force field analysis is not the 4th part. It is different part, very near to the organizational readiness for change. In the receptive organization, to change depends on number of conditions. How can you understand that this organization is ready for change? We are talking about the diagnostic criteria to have good diagnosing organizational readiness for change. First, is there pressure for change? It's a very moral question in organization. Is there pressure for change? Pressure is a basic part of creating any type of change. It is like delivery a baby after pregnancy. We need pressure. In hypnosis, in clinical hypnosis, we don't say delivery, labor a baby without pressure. We say without pain. You can have some labor in the labor room, some delivery of your baby, not without pressure. If you don't have any pressure, you cannot deliver your baby. We can reduce your pain, for example, under hypnosis. So pressure is a basic factor for creating any type of change. So you can call it force, you can call it stress, you can call it accent, you can call it power, you can call it pressure. Second one, is there a shared vision of the goals, benefits, and directions? It is like family. It is like society. Share meaning, share goals. When everybody in an organization wants to be involved in a change, you as a manager should create some shared goals for your members, for your employees. Except of that, they will have a high level of consistency and high level of resistance to change. So is there a shared vision of goals, benefits, and direction? Do we have effective liaison and trust between those concerned? Is there the will and power to act? It is very important. It is related to your timetable, to your scheduling, your changing. Do we have enough capable people with sufficient resources? Do we have suitable rewards and define accountability for actions? Have we identified actionable first steps, priorities, planning? Does the organization have a capacity to learn and adapt? These are the criteria for diagnosing organizational readiness for change. It is the receptive organization. In the aspect of absorptive capacity, 4 dimensions we should understand and assess and gathering information about them. 1, acquisition, the ability to find and prioritize new knowledge and ideas quickly and efficiently. 2, assimilation, the second assumption we should consider in absorptive capacity for diagnosing is an organization ready for change or not is assimilation. The ability to understand new knowledge and to link it to existing knowledge. It is absorbing the knowledge. It is internalizing the knowledge. Even in psychology, it is called assimilation. When you know something new, out of your mind, in your environment, you observe it and modify with your previous knowledge. It is called assimilation in psychology. Cognitive psychology, also in management, is called assimilation. And transformation, the next step of observative capacity, how observative you are in your workplace. It is about your transformation. What is the meaning of transformation here? It is the ability to combine, converge, and recodify new knowledge. It is very important. Recodify is very important. When you can recodify your new knowledge which you have observed in your assimilation process and recodify and convert it, it is called transformation. And finally, it is exploitation, the ability to use new ideas productively. It is about the field of action. You can use your new knowledge in your daily life, and we can see those knowledge here. The next one, the next one is force field analysis. Here is the innovative organization. We have two types of innovation: stimulating innovation and smothering innovation. It is about the size of the organization, about the competition, about the encouragement, bureaucracy, and other parts. The fourth part is force field analysis. We have this part as organizational readiness for change, individual readiness, forces on individual, it is organizational readiness in force field analysis. Identify factors that are driving forces for change as well as restraining forces. We see in this model two types of forces: restraining forces and driving forces. Static sales, increasingly aggressive competition, rising number of customer complaints in driving forces. And brand being criticized on social media, and new chief executives support this move. And in the opposite part, in the other hand, we have restraining forces. Difficult to recruit capable sales staff, high turnover among part-time staff, trained and capable staff are poached. Our competitors face similar problems and cost of customer relationships, training. It is force field analysis. In these two categories, about driving forces and about restraining forces, which are opposite together, and we have a cross-sectional part for driving forces and restraining forces. If you want to have a good analysis about the possibility and probability of changing your company, you should consider these factors in two categories. One, driving forces, and second, restraining forces. Identify factors that driving forces for change as well as restraining forces. Now at the last part, we are going to the individual readiness for change, and final part is stakeholders readiness. Individual readiness for change focuses on individual readiness, focuses on individual organizational characteristics that predispose an individual to being ready to change. Underpinning 5 beliefs. You should consider 5 beliefs for analyzing the individual readiness for change. At first, discrepancy. 2, appropriateness. 3, efficacy. 4, principle, support. And 5, balance. These are the 5 assumptions that you should consider when you want to think about, to understand, to calculate, to assessment, gathering information about the readiness, individual readiness in organizations, or sometimes in yourself, in your family members, out of the organization. You can use the individual readiness for change principle also for assessment about other people out of your organization, even about yourself sometimes, that how much I am ready to create a change in my own life, out of my organization, out of my company, in my private life, in my, for example, hobby life, love life, like life, and family life, and other parts of life. You can use these assumptions. Discrepancy, the belief that change is needed. Appropriateness, the belief that proposed change is an appropriate response. It is a very good idea. Efficacy, the individual perceived capability, not real capability. The individual perceived capability to implement the change. It is very important. How do you think about yourself as a change agent? Do you think that you can be a good change agent in your life? It is called locus of control. Locus of control is a concept in psychology about the efficacy, sense of efficacy in everyone about himself or herself. How much I think the control of my success is in my hand. Is it internal locus of control or external locus of control? And principal support. They believe that the organization management will provide resources and information. If you think, yes, I am ready to change, but I don't have enough resources, don't have enough money, don't have enough time, don't have enough energy for creating the change I want to create in my life. So you don't have any principal support. If it is a change in organization, it is about the organizational resources, for example, from your manager, from your peers, from your co-workers and other people. And valence is the individual's evaluation of the personal costs and benefits. It is very important. Is it good for me? How much does it cost for me? What are the benefits of the change in organization for me? It is personalized part of change. Everybody think about the change, not only even in the organizational aspects. A lot of people think about the future changes and the effect of the future changes on their own personal life. It is very important to consider the perceived future of the change in your personal, in your co-workers, in your employees. No benefits, no overall positive evaluation of readiness. And the last part is stakeholder analysis. Identify those who are likely to be affected by an organizational change. It is stakeholders, their expected gains and losses, and their capacity to support or block a change. These are not the members of the organization. These are not the organization as a whole. These are stakeholders. It is a very important part. One, because at the end of the decision making, your decisions should be approved by stakeholders. So as a change manager, you should have a good analysis about the stakeholders of your company, of your organization. Look at here, power interest matrix. I love this matrix, it's very good. And level of interest and power, low and high, and low and high. In low level of interest, with low power, you can see only minimal effort. In high level of interest, but low power, you can see keep informed only. In low level of interest, with high level of power, you will keep satisfied. You're always happy when you have a high power and a low level of interest. And persons with a high level of interest and high level of power, they are key players. They are game changers. They can change anything and everything in the history of your organization. Okay, this is the last part. You have a good time now. You can go to your quiz. Everybody is in this class now. As a hybrid student, should pass the quiz in the class. And yes, we have 5 minutes to 8, and you can have time until 8:10. It is 50 minutes. And please send your major post before Wednesday night. It is very important. Please check your text with Grammarly. I will check it. And it is important for leadership team of the CalMU to have a good writing skills for the student, especially in the NDA and DBA. You have access to premium version of Grammarly. And the third things is that you should write on the APA style, publication style 7 edition. You can use it in your Moodle room. Rupali has sent for all of the students some general guides for writing on APA style. Also, you can find it in YouTube, in internet, APA publication style 7 edition, not 6 edition. You should write your text, your post, your replies based upon the APA style 7 publication style 7 edition. Okay, go for the quiz. I'm here until 8.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
I'm ready. Have a good night.
You too. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Bye-bye, Professor.
Bye, David.
You have a good night, Professor.
Bye. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Bye. Good night.
I'm finishing, Professor. I have some issue with the internet here.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Take care of
Thank
yourself. I hope you will so good for the next week.
Yeah, I will try my best.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you and good night.
See you.